Hello again, family. This is day 60 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we finish the book of Deuteronomy, which is not only finishing the book of Deuteronomy, but it's finishing the Torah, the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, the 5 books ascribed to Moses. Landmark for today, how exciting. We've gone 60 days in and we're only through the first 5 books. I was talking to other people on a separate occasion that Day 60 just ends the first of the 3 sections of the Old Testament, and the New Testament doesn't even start until day 281. So buckle up, we've got a long way to go. Now, however, just to throw some context at you, remember Moses is talking to the generation of Israel that's about to go into the Promised Land, and he's telling them the blessings and the curses that they will get if they either choose life in abundance or they choose death and despair by whether or not they follow the law of Yahweh when they enter into the land. And Moses has already said, I know that you're not going to, though. I know that you're not going to follow. So let's see how that plays out a little bit today. Give ear, O heavens, to my voice. Let the earth take note of the words of my mouth. My teaching is dropping like rain, coming down like dew on the fields, like rain on the young grass and showers on the garden plants. For I will give honor to the name of Yahweh. Let our God be named great. He is the rock, complete is his work, for all his ways are righteousness. A God without evil who keeps faith, true and upright is he. They have become false, they are not his children. The mark of sin is on them. They are an evil and hard-hearted generation. Is this your answer to Yahweh, O foolish people and unwise? Is he not your Father who has given you life? He has made you and given you your place. Keep in mind the days of the past. Give thought to the years of generations gone by. Go to your father, and he will make it clear to you. To the old men, and they will give you the story. When the Most High gave the nations their heritage, separating into groups the children of men, he had the limits of the peoples marked out, keeping in mind the number of the children of Israel. For Yahweh's wealth is his people. Yaakov is the land of his heritage. He came to him in the wasteland, in the unpeopled waste of sand. Putting his arms around him and caring for him, he kept him as the light of his eye. As an eagle, teaching her young to make their flight, with her wings outstretched over them, takes them up on her strong feathers. So Yahweh only was his guide, no other God was with him. He put him on the highest places of the earth, his food was the increase of the field. Honey he gave him out of the rock, and oil out of the hard rock. Butter from his cows and milk from his sheep, with fat of lambs and sheep of Bashan, and goats and the heart of the grain, and for your drink wine from the blood of the grapes. But Yeshurun became fat and would not be controlled. You have become fat, you are thick and full of food. Then he was untrue to the God who made him, giving no honor to the rock of his salvation. The honor which was his they gave to strange gods. By their disgusting ways he was moved to wrath. They made offerings to evil spirits which were not God, to gods who were strange to them, which had newly come up, not feared by your fathers. You have no thought for the rock your father, you have no memory of the God who gave you birth. And Yahweh saw with disgust the evil doing of his sons and daughters, and he said, My face will be veiled from them, I will see what their end will be. For they are an uncontrolled generation, children in whom is no faith. They have given my honor to that which is not God, moving me to wrath with their false worship. I will give their honor to those who are not a people, moving them to wrath by a foolish nation. For my wrath is a flaming fire, burning to the deep parts of the underworld, burning up the earth with her increase, and firing the deep roots of the mountains. I will send a rain of troubles on them, my arrows will be showered on them. They will be wasted from need of food, and overcome by burning heat and bitter destruction. And the teeth of beasts I will send on them, with the poison of the worms of the dust. Outside they will be cut off by the sword, and in the inner rooms by fear. Death will take the young man and the virgin, the baby at the breast and the gray-haired man. I said I would send them wandering far away. I would make all memory of them go from the minds of men. But for the fear that their haters, uplifted in their pride, might say, Our hand is strong, Yahweh has not done all this. For they are a nation without wisdom, there is no sense in them. If only they were wise, if only this was clear to them, and they would give their thought to their future. How would it be possible for one to overcome 1,000, and 2 to send 10,000 in flight, if their rock had not let them go, if Yahweh had not given them up? For their rock is not like our rock, even our haters themselves being judges. For their vine is the vine of Sodom from the fields of Amorah. Their grapes are the grapes of evil, and the berries are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons, the cruel poison of snakes. Is not this among my secrets, kept safe in my storehouse? Punishment is mine and reward, at the time of the slipping of their feet. For the day of their downfall is near, sudden will be their fate. For Yahweh will be judge of his people, he will have pity for his servants. When he sees that their power is gone, there is no one shut up or free. And he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they put their faith? Who took the fat of their offerings, and the wine of their drink offering? Let them now come to your help, let them be your salvation. See now, I myself am he, there is no other God but me. Giver of death and life, wounding and making well. And no one has power to make you free from my hand. For lifting up my hand to heaven, I say, by my unending life, if I make sharp my shining sword, and my hand is outstretched for judging, I will give punishment to those who are against me, and their right reward to my haters. I will make my arrows red with blood, my sword will be feasting on flesh, with the blood of the dead and the prisoners, of the long-haired heads of my haters. Be glad, O you his people, over the nations, for he will take payment for the blood of his servants, and will give punishment to his haters, and take away the sin of his land for his people. So Moshe said all the words of this song in the hearing of the people, he and Hoshea the son of Nun. And after saying all this to the people, Moshe said to them, let the words which I have said to you today go deep into your hearts, and give orders to your children, and do every word of this law. And this is no small thing for you, but it is your life, and through this you may make your days long in the land which you are going over Yarden to take for your heritage. That same day Yahweh said to Moshe, go up into this mountain of Aviram, to Mount Nebo, in the land of Moab, opposite Jericho. There you may see the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel for their heritage. And let death come to you on the mountain where you are going, and be put to rest with your people, as death came to Aaron your brother, on Mount Hor, where he was put to rest with his people, because of your sin against me before the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wasteland of Sin, because you did not keep my name holy among the children of Israel. So you will see the land before you, but you will not go into the land of which I am giving to the children of Israel. Now this is the blessing which Moshe the man of God gave to the children of Israel before his death. He said, Yahweh came from Sinai, dawning on them from Seir, shining out from Mount Paran, coming from Meribah Kadesh. From his right hand went flames of fire, his wrath made waste the peoples. All his holy ones are at his hand, they go at his feet, they are lifted up on his wings. Moshe gave us a law, a heritage for the people of Yaakov, and there was a king in Yeshurun, when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel came together. Let life, not death, be Reuven's. Let not the number of his men be small. And this is the blessing of Yehuda. He said, give ear, O Lord, to the voice of Yehuda, and make him one with his people. Let your hands take up his cause, and be his help against his attackers. And of Levi he said, give your Thummim to Levi, and let the Urim be with your loved one, whom you put to the test at Massah, with whom you were angry at the waters of Merivah, who said of his father, who is he? And of his mother, I have not seen her. He kept himself separate from his brothers and had no knowledge of his children, for they have given ear to your word and kept your agreement. They will be the teachers of your decisions to Yaakov and of your law to Israel. The burning of perfumes before you will be their right, and the ordering of burned offerings on your altar. Let your blessing, O Lord, be on his substance. May the work of his hands be pleasing to you. May those who take up arms against him and all who have hate for him be wounded through the heart, never to be lifted up again. And of Benjamin he said, Benjamin is the loved one of Yahweh. He will be kept safe at all times. He will be covered by the Most High, resting between his arms. And of Yosef he said, let the blessings of Yahweh be on his land, for the good things of heaven on high, and the deep waters flowing under the earth, and the good things of the fruits of the sun, and the good things of the growth of the moons, and the chief things of the oldest mountains, and the good things of the eternal hills, the good things of the earth and all its wealth, the good pleasure of him who has seen in the burning tree. May they come on the head of Yosef, on the head of him who was prince among his brothers. He is a young ox, glory is his. His horns are the horns of the mountain ox, with which all people will be wounded, even to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim and the thousands of Manasseh. And of Zebulun he said, be glad, Zebulun, in your going out. and Yisachar in your tents. They will send out the word for the people to come to the mountain, there taking the offering of righteousness. For the store of the seas will be theirs, and the secret wealth of the sand. Of God, he said, a blessing be on him who makes wide the limits of God. He takes his rest like a she-lion, taking for himself the arm and the crown of the head. He kept for himself the first part, for his was the ruler's right. He put in force the righteousness of Yahweh and his decision for Israel. And of Dan he said, Dan is a young lion, springing out from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, made glad with grace and full of the blessings of Yahweh. The sea and its fishes will be his. And of Asher he said, Let Asher have the blessing of children. May he be pleasing to his brothers, and let his foot be wet with oil. Your shoes will be iron and brass, and as your days, so may your work be. No other is like the God of Yeshurun, coming on the heavens to your help, and letting his glory be seen in the skies. The God of your fathers is your safe resting place, and under you are his eternal arms. Driving out the forces of your haters from before you, he said, Let destruction overtake them. And Yisrael is living in peace, the fountain of Yaakov, by himself, in a land of grain and wine, with dew dropping from the heavens. Happy are you, O Yisrael, who is like you, a people whose Savior is Yahweh, whose help is your cover, whose sword is your strength. All those who are against you will put themselves under your rule, and your feet will be planted on their high places. And Moshe went up from the tablelands of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is facing Jericho. And Yahweh let him see all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Yehudah, as far as the great sea of the west, and the south, and the circle of the valley of Jericho, the town of palm trees, as far as Zoar. And Yahweh said to him, This is the land about which I made an oath to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, saying, I will give it to your seed. Now I have let you see it with your eyes, but you will not go in there. So death came to Moshe, the servant of Yahweh, there in the land of Moab, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh put him to rest in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no man has knowledge of his resting place to this day. And Moshe at his death was 120 years old. His eye had not become clouded, or his natural force become feeble. For 30 days the children of Israel were weeping for Moshe in the tablelands of Moab, until the days of weeping and sorrow for Moshe were ended. And Yehoshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moshe had put his hands on him. And the children of Israel gave ear to him, and did as Yahweh had given orders to Moshe. There has never been another prophet in Israel like Moshe, whom Yahweh had knowledge of face to face. In all the signs and wonders which Yahweh sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants in all his land, and all the acts of power and fear which Moshe did before the eyes of all Yisrael. And there you have it. That's the end of the book of Deuteronomy, or Davarim. That's the end of the Pentateuch, the first 5 books, or the Torah, in our threefold division of the Old Testament, or Hebrew Bible. You did it. You got there. Now, a few things I want to draw your attention to at the close of today before we go. First of all, this Song of Moses, which is very poetic, and it's just kind of reiterating this relationship between Yahweh and his people, and the fact that Yahweh fights for his people, but if the people are disloyal and worship other gods, he will no longer fight on their behalf, and he will let chaos ensue and destruction come upon them. I do think it's interesting, and part of the reading yesterday too, but this idea that Yahweh hands them over to total destruction. But if at any point, they turn from their way, they put Yahweh in their direct vision, and they say, we're sorry, we love you, we want to be a part of you. Like, Yahweh will always come back, and he will fight on their behalf, and he will restore them. So it's just like this always promised restoration that's happening. I think that's a beautiful thing. As we get to the very end of the book, Moses goes up the mountain and he dies, and it says specifically that to this day nobody knows where he was buried. So there's a little bit of evidence showing that whoever compiled this canon that we have, they were doing so at a later time, and they were adding in the details to let you know some things. And so that's just something to pay attention to. But it's really interesting that this 5 books of Moses, this Pentateuch, the last book, Deuteronomy, both ends with the blessings on all of the different tribes of Israel, just like the end of the book of Genesis, but it also ends with this claim that Moses was such a great prophet because he was able to speak to God face to face, and no prophet has ever been as great as Moses. So that's also being written from a future time span. And so the book of Deuteronomy is left off with this: the human heart needs to be transformed, and there was nobody like Moses who is as good as a prophet as Moses. It leaves off this idea that there needs to be another one like Moses in order to transform the human heart, to have Israel pick life and abundance. So it's setting up for a need for somebody else, and I won't make claim as to who that is, but I do have an idea of who that is supposed to be. So I hope I've given you some things to think about. I'm super happy that you've made it through day 60 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Tomorrow, we're going to start the book of Joshua, and I have decided to choose a new translation. The original reason why I was choosing Bible in Basic English Translation is because it's public domain, and I can't get in trouble for posting it at all. But I have found another one called World English Bible that I have decided to use from here on out because it is also public domain. I can't get in trouble for using it, and it is a much better translation. Now, I won't be claiming World English Bible as I go on from here because one of their requests is that if there's any editing at all going on, to not use their name because it's the name itself is patented and copyrighted. So I do some editing, for all of you middle schoolers out there, like myself, obviously. I do editing when I put together these slides because I personally have to add a comma here and there in order for me to understand how the sentence is supposed to be read and inflected. And then occasionally I'll change the spelling of a Hebrew name or something to help me remember the correct pronunciation. And then sometimes there's just sentences that are so bad in English that it's borderline impossible to understand what the sentence is actually supposed to say. So I have to go to other translations and the original Hebrew to really get the context, and then I lay it out a little bit different so that whoever is listening to me read or reading along gets a better idea of what is supposed to be said there. So I won't be claiming that translation of the Bible by name, but I will be using that as my base. So I've said a lot, and you probably didn't care about any of that, but just know that going forward, hopefully the translations will be a little bit better English, and I'm excited to get into the next section of the Hebrew Bible called Nevi'im, which just means prophets. So I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day.